Welcome to Illuminati Silver. We tell you the truth about silver. Today is Monday, the 15th of July, 2024. And this video is going out in the very early hours of Monday morning. And we've not as yet had the opportunity to see what has happened in the gold and silver markets in Asia on opening. The reason we say this in advance is that although we are predicting in this video gold and silver prices to rise for a number of reasons, which if you listen to the video you will find out, we are expecting an initial rise on the Asia opening, and it'll be very interesting to see if this occurs. Last week we saw gold and silver beat a different path, with gold rising and silver falling, but this week we are much more optimistic for both of these precious metals. Why? Well, let's take a look. Now first, just a quick reminder, we've set up a second channel entitled Finances Do Matter, covering a whole array of financial topics. Now we've placed a link in the description box and comment section below for those who've not as yet joined the channel. There is a video appearing on that later today, in which we actually explain what's going on with the channel, as no video has appeared over the last couple of weeks. So tune in there, exciting news. Now let's get back to what's been happening in the markets. Well, gold rose $20 last week, rising from $2,392 to $2,412, having hit a high of $2,424 and a low of $2,350, a rise of just under 1%. 0.9% to be more precise. Gold spread between high and low was $74, exactly the same as the previous week. Last weekend we said gold would trade between $2,350 and $2,450, and we were pretty much spot on. In sterling terms, gold finished the week at £1,860, down £10, thus showing the strength of sterling against the dollar. And in euros, it closed at 2,215 euros. That's up 3 euros. Silver fell 43 cents, falling from $31.23 to $30.80, having hit a high of $31.78 and a low of $30.43, a fall of 1.4%. The difference between its high and low was $1.35, roughly half that of the previous week. Last weekend, we predicted silver will trade between $30.50 and $33, with it falling temporarily into our outlier range by 7 cents for a few minutes on Friday. In sterling terms, silver closed at £23.79, that's down 60 pence on the week, and in euros it closed at 28.35 euros, that's down just over half a euro, 0.54 to be more precise. The gold to silver ratio rose from 76.6 to 1 to 78.3 to 1. Now Bitcoin, at the time of producing this, stands at $59,994, up $2,321. But this rise occurred literally in the last 12 hours due to the attempted assassination of former President Donald Trump. Prior to that, it was languishing in the $55,000 to $57,000 level. Equities were higher on Friday, Dow Jones up 625 points at 40,000, the S&P 500 up 50 points at 5,617, the Nasdaq up 46 points at 18,398, and the FTSE 100 index up 49 points at 8,252. Oils were slightly lower, Brent crude down $1.51 at 85.03, and WTI crude down 95 cents at $82.21. The dollar was weaker, and its index was down 0.78 on the week at 104.09. Well, last week all attention was on Thursday's CPI inflation report. The CPI for June was lower than anticipated, minus 0.1%. Note that, minus 0.1, compared with an envisaged plus 0.1. This reduced the year-over-year figure from 3.3 to 3%. The core CPI was also lower than envisaged, coming in at plus 0.1% for June, compared with expectations of plus 0.2%. This means the year-over-year core CPI figures reduces from 3.4 to 3.3%. In addition to that, the core producer price index for June, announced on Friday, was also lower than anticipated, reducing the year-over-year rate from 3.3 to 3.1%. But that said, the main PPI rate rose 0.2%, which as a result has caused some market confusion because the PPI rate does tend to give an indication of future rate movements. Combined, though, this is indeed good news for those hoping for interest rate cuts in September. And this new lower inflation rate is the first decline in prices, because it was minus 0.1, decline in prices since May 2020. Now, of course, politically, this news was overshadowed by the media attention on President Biden's verbal gaffes during various debates and conferences. So much of it was missed. That said, the gold and silver markets did rise on the news, though silver fell back on Friday while gold maintained its position. Now, this coming week we have US retail sales for June announced on Tuesday. Markets are expecting a negative 0.2%. Industrial production figures on Wednesday and US leading economic indicators on Thursday may also have an impact. But Tuesday is the day to watch as far as economic data is concerned. Now, the following week, and particularly the 26th of July, we have the other measure of inflation, PCE. And if this falls similarly to the CPI data just announced, we will almost definitely have a rate cut in September. So, what is the envisaged momentum for gold? The answer? Upwards. Inflation data fuels last week's rally, with markets now pricing in a 96% chance of a September interest rate cut. Fed officials are also turning dovish, and global uncertainties support gold safe haven status. What happened yesterday in the attempt on former President Donald Trump's life will also boost gold, especially on Monday or overnight trading in Asia tonight. We believe the price was going to rise regardless of this, but this attempt increases the prospect dramatically because of the uncertainty it creates in terms of safety and the increased likelihood, too, that Trump will be elected in November. The combination of cooling inflation, increasingly dovish Fed rhetoric, and surging rate cut expectations creates a potent environment for gold prices. Technical analysts now argue you can only be a buyer of gold and not a seller, with potential rises forecast to as high as $2,500 before any significant resistance is met, and a super strong support level of $2,280. One can see why the current price of $2,412 is quite attractive. Silver prices more or less moved in alignment with gold last week until late on Thursday, when silver began a descent, not really recovering from the fall. There is no doubt that silver's dual nature as both a precious metal and industrial commodity creates a complex market, balancing monetary policy and economic growth factors. If the economy is cooling, that is good for silver's monetary demand because of perceived lower rates, but not so good for its industrial demand short term because less may be required for production. It also appears that silver investors are more cautious about the prospect of an interest rate cut in September and are probably waiting for more collaborative data. Undoubtedly, from a technical point of view, there is psychological support at $30 and strong technical support at $29.27. There is, however, technical resistance at its 11-year high of $32.52. But this could, however, be easily reached once any interest rate cut uncertainty dissipates, and it's truly on the cards. Meanwhile, we have to put forward a forecast for this coming week. Well, providing the economic data continues its recent trend, and there are no geopolitical surprises other than what's happened so far, we expect to see gold trade higher upon opening because of what happened to Trump, and envisage a strong week for gold all round. Therefore, our gold forecast is a trading range of $2,375 to $2,475, with $2,350 and $2,500 as outliers. Now, there may be an aberrational spike as trading bots buy in initially on Asian market opening, but these are the boundaries where we forecast the general trading to operate within. Silver is a little more tricky because really, its price should not have fallen back last week and stayed down on Friday, not to the extent that it did. Now, unless something is happening in the background which no one is as yet aware, we are distinctly positive for silver this coming week. We envisage it will trade between $30.40 and $32.50, with an outlier range of $30 and $33.20. What do you think is going to happen to prices? Please do share your thoughts. Meanwhile, thank you so much for listening. We'd appreciate it if you would give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, press the bell sign. Have a really productive and profitable week. And we hope you will rejoin us next weekend for a further update.